Perfect. Okay. Well, thanks for being here with us this morning.
Thank you.
Am I in
Thanks
your
for
way?
having us. No, you're good.
Okay. I showered this morning just for you. So
Awesome.
that way,
Yeah.
whenever we're this close. And if I get tired, is it okay if I sit on your lap?
Yes.
It's
Go for it.
2018, so I have to ask that.
It's true.
Please, just starting from my left, your right, go ahead and say your name into the mic and first and last name or however you want to be known in the radio package and on the videos, just so that way we get all the spelling right and everything.
Okay.
Great. I am Kelly Lohman.
I'm Corbin Allred.
I'm Kirby Heyborne.
I'm Adam Gedeborg.
Perfect. My first question to start it off is, how did all of this start? Were you at like a famous Mormon convention and you're like, hey, we're all funny. Let's tour and make people
There are
laugh.
so many famous Mormon conventions.
I'm waiting for them to invite me to one, by the way.
You should be there.
I know
Miles.
it got lost in the mail, but
Yeah.
I'm not bitter.
Lincoln Hoppe and I, we started a group about 16 years ago, and just over the years, we've been able to grab really talented people. I did a play with Kelly about 13 or 14 years ago. I did a movie with Corbin, and that was 13, 14 years ago. And we all just started improvising together. That's how it started. And then we started doing shows up here at BYU, Idaho, about maybe 10 years ago now. And we got an email from a pianist who does improv, and it's Adam Gedeborg. And he said, hey, I'd love to try playing with you guys. And ever since then, he's our pianist. He's amazing.
Yeah. So you all got together. This isn't necessarily like you do tours around, the Pacific Northwest or I guess this area, Utah, Idaho, Arizona. Do people usually come to you, or do you actually have a tour schedule like around the states?
People come to me and say, hey, come see us. When you get old, you don't like to go out of your house. So to put together a tour is a lot of work for old people.
Okay.
So we just wait until people contact us and we say, sure, we'll be funny for you.
Okay. And then it just works out.
And then it just works out. Yeah.
Perfect. The show last night was hilarious. It was really good, and you just made it look so easy. But I wonder if sometimes, I know a lot of the times as performers, you feed off of the energy you get from the audience. And sometimes that energy can be repeated depending on I'm sure here it may be like a very similar energy every time you come. Because of that, do you ever find yourself repeating jokes or repeating scenes, and you're like, oh, this wasn't intended, but this is just the vibe we're getting, so let's just roll with it? Or do you always try and break it up and make it different every time?
Yeah, I don't think it's even possible in improv to really repeat things, because the reality is we don't remember. I mean, truly, the show is born when it happens, and after the show, there's highlights and things that we kind of stick out in our mind, and we think, oh wow, that worked great. But there would never be another time. That's what's so unique about improv, is that there'll never be another show like that again. Not because we won't do it. We literally can't do it. We can't do it. And the show is so much of the show is dictated by the audience, and the audience's energy, their suggestions. So it's really it's a show for the collective. It's everybody there is involved, and so we would never have the exact same audience, and so you'll never get the exact same show.
Yeah, and if you do try to do the same scene or the same joke, you project that you're trying to be funny. And in improv, in other forms of comedy, it's different. But in improv, you kind of project that, and it loses its naturalness, and it'll fall flat every time.
I think if we repeat anything at all, it might just be things that we like to see the other people do. So if I find myself repeating something, it's because I really want to see Corbin or Kirby or Lincoln or Adam do that thing they're so good at. And it's never in the same way, but it's really fun to sort of set people up to be the best version of themselves. And I think that's the only thing that I like to repeat.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's fun to do something totally new.
I love repeating with Corbin. When we do a musical, if there's ever a time that we can get nose to nose and fight, I love that.
It's intimate.
Yeah.
So yeah, like setting up. That's well said, Kelly. You set
Perfect.
each other up the same.
Well, that sets up my next question perfectly. What is the group dynamic like, and how do you keep it peaceful? I doubt this is ever a thing where you're, after the show, you're like, hey, if you ever, outshine me, I'll give you a wedgie or something like that. Like, I'm sure.
That's pretty
Twice
violent.
that's happened.
Yeah.
Only twice.
Okay. Well, which is,
And it's been months.
yeah, compared to most improv groups, that's really
Yeah,
good,
I've
though.
been in groups before where that was it, where people wanted to showboat,
Mhm.
and when you're in control of a group, you just surround yourself with people that you like to work with,
Mhm.
and so there's not one personality in our group. We're based out of Los Angeles, and of our cast of 8 to 10 people, depending on the month, every single person has a very passive personality and an uplifting. They're very kind and
Mhm.
want to see the scene succeed rather than how can I look good in this. Once you start doing that in improv, trying to make yourself look good, then it just fails and it hurts everybody else on stage.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever played with this group and felt anything but understanding each other's intentions and motives. I mean, there's times where maybe because it's improv, because of the nature of what improv is, we'll talk on each other, we'll accidentally step on each other, but the intention is always to uplift the others. The show is good when everybody's doing their best, and it's and the way that we try to cultivate that is by setting each other up to do the best that we can do. And so if you turn it on yourself and you make it about yourself, then yeah, I could see that there could be some room for animosity because it's a very selfish way to act. But when if something doesn't work, it's never because somebody else caused that to happen. It's usually like Kirby will set me up for something and I'll miss it. Maybe I didn't catch it, and I'll be like, oh, Kirby, man, now I see what you were trying to set me up for and I missed it. Sorry, I missed it. But it would never be it would never be him trying to stop me or Kelly trying to stop me or Adam trying to stop me from doing something. It's just give.
Right.
And sometimes it's those moments of just shutting your mouth and let the other one do their thing. Like last night, for example, Kirby and I we had a little song going on, and Kelly started into this solo.
Yeah.
And it was one of those ones where like
She's
she's so talented that literally it just forced us off stage. We just had to literally
shut
shut
our
up
mouths.
and
Yeah.
get out of the way because she was going to come through, and it was
That's the
awesome.
thing. Like it's amazingly nice people, but then the level of talent is something that I've never seen in an improv group before. So you love each other, and then I've been on stage just last night in awe of what Kelly's doing, and like I can't believe I got a front row seat to see this being made up on the spot. The vulnerability, the talent. It's amazing.
shook us right out of our characters, and then
Yeah.
we were just part of the audience.
Yeah.
We were like applauding and like
this is so great.
and cheering her on as she went. So and that happens all the time. We
Yeah.
we laughed. I mean, we laugh at each other all the time. We probably broke character last night as much as we have in a long time because we laugh at each other. But
And as actors and musicians, there is some level of perhaps it's the natural man that just wants to be the spotlight, to be out in front and be, everybody look at me, this is amazing, and getting the applause, certainly that is nice. But when you focus on yourself and be selfish, it becomes so inauthentic. And the best thing about the improv and the stuff that we do is just being so real and being authentic and setting each other up for success. Because when you look at other people and say, you know what, they are funnier than I am, and with these people, they're amazing and so much funnier than I am. It makes it so easy to be like, you know what, I can give, I can set this up, I can try and just do all that I can to help them shine. And when you look outwards and serve each other, that's when you get the real magic.
Mm-hmm.
One cool thing about BYU Idaho is the level of talent of the people running the sound and running the lights. An improv
Yes.
show they're part of the audience or part of the cast too.
Yeah.
So especially in the second show last night, the lights were beautiful. They were going from green. We were talking about a stoplight, and we were singing about a red light and then a yellow light that had kind of an orange hue to it, and they changed it to an orange hue. They were amazing, and they just were on top.
Such talent to be able to improvise technically like that. It's
Yeah.
so hard to do, and they were just really incredible. I was so impressed from the follow spots to the sound to the LED cannons in the back were so supportive.
The
The
smoke.
smoke machine. I mean, it was just, we all felt like we were in the center of a rock concert, I think. It
Yeah.
was just so cool. I was really just so impressed.
Wow.
That was a long answer.
It was.
It was a beautiful answer, though. What would you say is the hardest part of doing improv live? I guess improv should always be live. You
Yeah.
can't rehearse improv,
Yeah.
you know. But what would you say is the hardest part? Is it working with the audience? Is it just some days you just can't read one another?
What is it, Kelly?
Indigestion?
Kelly does a lot more improv than we do. She's with 40 other improv groups. What is it for you? What's the hardest part?
I think for me, it's always staying present. So to do it well and to do what these guys were talking about, staying connected, lifting the other people up, you really have to be in the moment. As soon as you're thinking about what you've just done or what's coming next, you're focused inward. So anytime you're in your head, your loop of energy is sort of going back to you. But it's just that same trend again. If you really focus on the other person, you can remain present in the moment with them. And then you're really hearing everything people are saying. You're really seeing everything they're doing, and you can create together as opposed to just sort of, if I'm in me, then everything Kirby or Corbin Adams doing is bouncing off in some way. I'm in the weird silo. Or if I'm trying too hard to like make something happen, I'm thinking too hard in that way, then everything I'm doing is bouncing off of them. But if we're all present, we're creating these nice connections, and the story can really flow. I think that's the hardest thing to do, because it's a very vulnerable position you're putting yourself in, to create art in the moment like that, to tell stories about people that are real and have real needs and wants. That's a vulnerable thing to do. So the hardest thing is to really just stay in the moment.
And when you are in the moment, then you're experiencing something magic. When something magic happens, it's even more magical because you're not thinking, okay, what happens next? That's what I love at the beginning of the musical. We come out and it's so clean, so clear, there's nothing, and you can't project. You just see, you discover what happens together. That's the most magical thing. It's just fresh, and it's just, I don't know what I'm doing. And then you look back on it, and it's like, oh, I did know what I was doing. I just was living in that moment. That's awesome.
I think a lot of the challenge, if I was going to say something was difficult, I think getting to a point where you trust people as much as you have to trust people in improv. And that happens hopefully before the fact. Hopefully you're not on stage
Learning to trust.
already. But we come out to these shows and yeah, there are times where your mind just isn't isn't catching up on things quickly, and you've in your mind maybe you're like, there's good shows and bad shows, and for me, excuse me, there may be a show where I'm like, I felt a little bit off tonight, or I wasn't picking up on that, but the reality is, in the end, an audience, when you surround yourself with people that you trust so so much without question, the audience doesn't feel that. They can't really single anybody out and be like, they were kind of having an off show tonight, or it's because the show is it's created. Yesterday morning we didn't have two shows. They didn't exist, and now I don't know how many people were there last night, but they have this memory of this thing that took place that happened absolutely in the moment, and so I would say that the challenge is we really have to trust each other and know that we're gonna help each other, we're gonna save each other in some situations, and when you have the trust, then the fear, and the anxiety about getting up in front of people and 2,000 people who've paid money to see a show that doesn't exist is a little nerve-wracking. But yet we go out there with total confidence. I go out there with total confidence in the other players. I'm not necessarily so confident in myself, but I don't have to be because
You're
I've
just
surrounded
thinking,
myself
I know
with.
Corbin's going to be great, Kelly's going to be great, Adam's going to nail it.
Yeah,
So then you're at ease.
yeah,
Yeah.
surrounded myself.
And
with
then you
people
say
like
the
that.
audience, they experienced the moment too. Last night after the second musical, I feel like we were so present and in the moment right up until the very end that the audience was experiencing that and they immediately shot to their feet. Did you see that?
Yeah,
When we finished
The
that
close.
last note. It's because they were in that moment with us too.
Yeah. And the story doesn't always, when we do the improvisational the musicals, the story doesn't always end up where anybody thinks it's going to end up. It doesn't end up where
Yeah.
we think it's going to
Did
end
you?
up.
Yeah. Did you think we were gonna go on missions?
I didn't. I thought we were going to end up being, and I thought we were going to Kelly.
I
You
thought
and
we
our
were gonna
characters,
get
and then I
together.
thought you guys were going to get together, and I thought I was out, and I felt hurt, and then all of a sudden it's it's not always that. It's not always that we found love. We found the green light.
Yeah.
The green light that we were, but it wasn't what we thought it was going to be at the beginning, and that's where the story took us. And everybody that went home last night that saw that show, they have this memory of these two shows that they participated in that didn't exist yesterday, and they remember the show. They don't remember necessarily one person. They remember
Right, that's good improv. When they don't remember, oh, Kirby was so funny when he did this. It was the overall show. That's a successful improv show when no one person sticks out. And I think that's what's great about this group is that dynamic is nobody's a showboater, and
There's moments that you'll pick and you'll go, oh wow,
yeah, right.
but the rest it's a show.
Well, I went to the first show last night, and it was really, I would say, inspiring. Just the fact that you guys could, pull a musical out of thin air like that.
Yeah, but
props
cows
to
and milk
Rigby.
that's the oldest story ever told.
Yeah.
I guess you're right. Yeah.
Just kidding.
But it was still good, and I mean, it felt like a musical. Like I've been to musicals, and it felt like I'm here again. I'm back in that in that moment, and I think that's really inspiring. And I think there are people in the audience who will see that, and they're like, I want to do that. I want to be like that. I want to create that energy. I want to, be able to just bounce right off the audience. What would you say to inspire people like that? Maybe just a good motivational pep talk. And
A lot of people find out what you have to do and they stop. Honestly, they come up and say, how do you be an actor? How do you narrate an audiobook? How do you get in an improv group? And then you tell them, and then they don't do it. And it's not glamorous. It's not sometimes very fun. You just got to get up and just do it and practice. And it's not very fun. We've practiced a musical for 14 years, understanding the structure and knowing that there are certain beats that have to be hit. But you just got to, if you really want to do it, you got to go with both feet in. You got to jump in and do it.
We've had without doubt and without exception, every show we do, when we meet the people that came to the show afterwards, and we always try to meet every single person that would like to give us a hug and shake our hand because we're as grateful for them as they are for us. I assure you, it's we don't have a show unless people come, and it's so we have such a wonderful experience with the people that come. But without question, somebody always will come up to us and be like, how do I get into improv? I want to do this. What would you recommend? That exact question you just asked us. And we'll always say, just get out and do it. Just get out and play. Even if it's gather. I mean, last night we talked to a young man and said, you could, gather 5 of your friends that are interested in improv.
Go to your apartment.
Make up some games. Move the couch to the side of the room, and 2 of you watch while 3 of you play, and just have fun. And get on a troupe, get on a team, and start to build the relationships with those people and understand how to trust and how to give. But it really is like Kirby said. It's you have to do it. It won't happen unless you put yourself out there. And it's an incredibly, especially initially, terrifying and vulnerable thing to do. To get out and somebody says go, and now all of a sudden you're supposed to be entertaining and funny. But when you really learn the essence of improv, you realize it's not you that has to be entertaining and funny. It's It's the entire the whole of it. Everybody together. It's the collective that has to be entertaining and funny. And when you surround yourself with people that you love and trust, it's almost automatic.
Kelly, anything?
I think this question is so related to anything you want to pursue in life, and I really have to agree with both these guys. The main thing is just to take that first step, which is the hardest part. The hardest thing to do is to take the first step, and in whatever pursuit we have, whether you want to be a neuroscientist or a basketball player or an improv performer, the first step is the hardest, and you're not going to be good. You're just not. And you have to give yourself the grace and the time to improve and develop the skills. I think with the arts, sometimes we feel like you have to be good right away in order to be worthy of pursuing it, and you really don't. I mean, none of us were good at this when
You're
we started.
horrible in the beginning.
You're terrible. You're
I was really
terrible.
good. I was really good.
Corbin is the exception.
Yeah,
That's true.
It is true,
No, it's-
though. Like, you're horrible. It's like when you're learning to walk, you fall down
All the time.
all the time. When you're learning to do anything. And I love that you compared us to neuroscientists.
Mhm.
Well, they're just mostly
It's on
me.
on the same same level.
But it's all the same thing. It's all about developing a skill set, getting to the point where you don't have to think about the skill set.
Right.
And all that takes is time. There's no substitute for time. You just have to
Right.
put in the hours. I mean, the 10,000 hour rule is
Right.
absolutely true,
Yeah.
and I think we all have twice that at this point. So
Right. We've been
it's
doing-
really just put in the time and
Right, and it hurts. It's
and
bad.
the grace. Just show yourself the same grace you would show someone you loved trying some new practice. So
Right.
that's really it. Just
And part of putting in the time is looking for the opportunities. There's opportunities all around you. And when I started doing improv piano, not very long before I met these wonderful people, and I saw that they were coming, and I just the first thought that came into mind was, well, I can play the piano, I can do the improv stuff, and my second thought was, well, they would never accept me.
Right.
And I just said, no, I'm going to take my first thought and go talk to them. I'm going to take the opportunity. I'm just going to try. If they say no, they'll say no. If I don't ask, they will have already said no.
Right. We didn't know you from
No.
Adam.
Oh.
Wow.
That was scripted.
And then and you just sent an email.
Yeah.
And because that's so funny, I didn't know that you had just really started doing that, and you just thought, you know what, I can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's
yeah,
see what
if
happens.
you had never sent that, if you never trust, and it's interesting. You said, that you'll have the temptation and kind of that
I will.
that fear and insecurity to not act, and Adam reaced out to us, and now I won't do a show unless Adam's doing the show. It's
Yeah.
like I always, that's my first question is when we're
Is Adam? It
yeah,
is.
it's my first question every time. When I get an email from Kirby or a text or something, and they're like, "Hey, you available for a show?" and I'll be like, "Is Adam coming?" And not that I wouldn't come, but man, it's like if what we do is an 8, Adam just turns it up to 11.
Yeah.
Because it's one more higher.
it's totally true. And I remember we did the first shows at BYU-I with Adam, and then we came up a few months later to do shows in Pocatello, and I was so excited when I found out Adam was coming over to play those shows with us.
Oh.
And when it became just, he's a member of our touring company. It was just such a wonderful thing. I can't imagine we would not be this without Adam. We wouldn't. And it's all because he pushed that little voice in his head aside and reached out. So thanks for doing that, Adam. Thanks
Yeah.
for being brave.
Yeah. Makes
'Cause
us
you've really
better.
changed our lives.
Yeah.
It's part of the principle of the "but if not," because I've been told no in a lot of other areas.
Yeah.
And if they had said no, I would still have gone and looked out for other opportunities. I'm glad they said yes,
Yeah.
because it's been I think the best thing outside of getting married to my wife for my life.
That includes his children.
Yeah. It's his wife, then us, then
And
his
his
children.
children. Yeah.
One would argue that this is one of your children,
Mhm.
That's right.
a form
His-
of a child.
His
yeah.
baby.
Yeah.
That's great, Miles. I like that.
We are his
Thank you.
baby.
So to sum up, take chances, work hard, don't give up.
Okay.
There's a soundbite.
And that's the only soundbite I use the whole package. I'm just kidding. Just more of a technical question. Is this what you do full time now, or is this a part time job and you have your full time jobs? Because obviously you have your families, you have your own personal lives. Do you go year round just touring whenever people request you, or?
Well, we're all actors,
Mhm.
so this is just one of the facets of being an actor. I do TV commercials and film and narration and improv and music.
Okay.
And so
This is just part of the hat.
This is the job. Yeah,
Okay.
this is just part of the big hat.
Yeah, it's not something when we say we don't tour doing improv full time. No,
Sure.
but as far as I mean, I've been an actor for goodness,
You were
I don't even want to
9?
say.
How old were you?
Yeah, I was 12.
12.
So that was 10 years ago. And
Yeah.
but I've been an actor most of my life.
More
and-
the majority of your life.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
vast majority of my life. And but acting is, I mean, there's so much you can do within acting. I mean, we were talking about this yesterday. Kirby's really one of the world-renowned audiobook readers, and he's won awards, all the awards
Every award that can be won.
that can be won. but I think if you ask Kirby Heyborne, 15 years ago, when he was kind of breaking into acting 20 years ago, if he thought he'd be this world-renowned audiobook reader and he would utilize his ability to act. I mean, you think about acting and being able to do physicality is one thing, but then just to be able to tell story with just your voice and do hundreds and hundreds of characters. I would imagine you've done hundreds, maybe thousands of characters.
Thousands of characters, a lot.
And so that's and now that's become his livelihood, and he's able to take care of his family in a wonderful way doing that. So acting for him, I think acting, that's the same for Kelly. And for me, I'm an actor, and I have other interests outside of film. So I work in medicine as well. I'm a PA and a paramedic, and so I do. But I think acting for me will always be number one. But I think we all do a lot outside of. I mean, it's acting, but we all have many other interests.
Sure.
I think of my first professional acting job, I was 10. So also
10 years ago.
10 years
Yeah.
ago. It was, but it's a really difficult way to support yourself, and it's an expensive career to have. You have to invest so much money into training and headshots and all that kind of good stuff. So I've had a day job most of the time, and I have been lucky to have really good ones that are been able to work with some really wonderful people. But yeah, that's not I don't think of myself as my day job. I think of myself as an actor.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it's really tough to get to the point where you can sustain your life with that. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm then defined by that fact. I don't look at it like, wow, I'm not making enough money to be an actor. That's what would make me an actor, is making enough money to pay my rent. That is not true. I mean, and that takes some time to get past, I think, because so much of it is based in status and the world's definition of success. But I find that I am successful because of the art I get to create, the stories I get to tell with these wonderful people. And then in order to do that thing, that calling, I have to put this time in corporate America. And that's fine too.
Wow. Well, for me personally, that's all the questions I had. Did you want to ask a couple more? Or? Yeah. Do y'all have time?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because we were thinking about having you here till about noon, so it's good. Or 1. I don't know. Just depends.
It just depends. Oh, for a second there, I thought you were serious.
Noon tomorrow.
Yeah.
No, not that much.
In church, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Oh, sweet. Okay. Hi, guys.
Hey.
Okay, so Kirby kind of beat me to the gun, but what I decided to do for a different approach on my interview was actually go to the social media. I decided to ask people around school and around campus who follow us at BYU-I Idaho Scroll about some questions that they had for you guys, for
Great.
Kirby, for Corbin, for just generally the group and what kind of things they want to know about you. So the first question that came up to mind, I don't have any Twitter handles because I'm a goofball, but the first thing that came to mind was, for you guys, I'm assuming that you all are members of the church, right?
No.
We're not.
Oh, really?
And I'm going to let you
Guess.
guess.
No, this is awkward.
Okay. So let's change the question
do you
again a
need
little bit.
to change the question? Yeah. So Kelly is not a member.
Oh, you're not.
No,
Okay.
It's me. It's
Kelly's
me,
the
you
one.
guys.
Oh, that's okay. It's still good.
The
It's
thing
still good.
is, Kelly, I've known her for 14 years. I thought she was Mormon from the beginning. She's an amazing, spiritual, amazing person that helps me be a better spiritual person.
Exactly. And the question that I was kind of asking is pertaining towards that. With you doing the improv and the acting and going around doing all these things, one of these people were asking about how difficult it is for you to be able to do all these jobs and to still be able to keep your standards, to still be able to be kind of clean and to make yourself feel good while making others feel good.
I think it's in any profession, whether you're a neuroscientist or an improviser, you just stick to your standards or you don't. I've seen people throughout my life who work construction or they work in insurance, and they face the same temptations. I think you either stick to your guns or you don't.
Okay, so it's kind of like not like a big problem at all for you guys.
No, it's not. I think
you make a decision.
Yeah, it's done so early in life, and I think that would be across the board, Mormon or not. I think it would be people. The content of their character. I think that develops through life, but I think we all kind of make decisions at some point about what we represent and the type of person we want to be. And I don't think there wouldn't be an exception for any of the students here at BYU-I. Yeah, there's certain, I think, rules and things that apply here at BYU-I to help kind of safeguard people. But the reality is we're all faced with kind of the same temptations. We're faced with the same, potentially people around us that are trying to motivate us or influence us to do something that maybe wouldn't fall within our standards or our principles. But unfortunately, I think the media commonly, what we see in the media is the bad. And so when you look at Hollywood and you go, oh God, Hollywood is a mess. It's a cesspool. Especially now, there's so much going on, and
Yeah,
it's kind of
especially.
purging itself of kind of the evil and the badness that's there. But you have to remember that there are so many wonderful, wonderful people with wonderful values and principles, and people that strive to adhere to those and represent those in their work. And so it's a decision that we've made probably so long ago that now it would be so outside our character to do something that would be questionable that I'm not going to say that you're ever beyond the temptation to do that. I think when money gets thrown around, I think that's something that can be tempting across the board. But truly, it's something that I think we are who we are, at this point. And so it really isn't too hard to adhere to what we've decided to
and
be.
you surround yourself with people that have the same values,
Right.
Mhm.
And you learn from them. What do you do,
Absolutely.
Kelly? How do you stay amazing?
It just comes very naturally.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Mhm.
I think so much of it is really understanding yourself and understanding what you do believe, and really being connected to it. If you don't really have a strong connection to your value system, it's very easy to move away from it because you
Feather
weren't
in the wind.
Yeah, you weren't. You didn't understand it to begin with, so it's hard to stick with something, a principle that you really aren't connected to. But if you're moving through life with your own mission statement, your own value system, your own principles, and you really understand that in yourself, it isn't difficult to stick to them. And when you have to say no to something or move away from an opportunity because it doesn't align, that's fine. That's fine. It doesn't feel bad. It doesn't feel like a bad decision. It never feels like the wrong decision. It's pretty easy to do. I think the other value that comes from this is oddly the ability as a storyteller to create empathy and compassion. So there's only so many people in the world we can meet, but if we have the opportunity to meet other types of people through hearing stories told about them, that's a real gift. So in our work, there's the idea that you're never going to play yourself. So of course you're going to have to play
Mhm.
people that have different value systems from the one you
Mhm.
have.
Mhm.
And that is okay too, I think, because we all need to be able to reach out to others who think a different way, who live it a different way, and be able to have compassion for them and to create relationships with them. And I think that's where sometimes we get this question more than people in other professions because we're playing people that aren't us, that don't
Right.
behave like us.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that playing those people is also a little different from being those people. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's an excellent. I mean, that's an excellent point and thought. Is that we would ask that because we do play other characters. I mean, I argue I've played the worst characters ever, and I've played terrible people. And but we do. It's interesting how, and I would say this with film. It's funny because you can play a really really horrible person on stage, and an audience watching that knows that you're not really a horrible person.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's film, for some reason, you do something questionable in film, and you're this horrible person. It translates as being very real, and so the audience sometimes is very very like offended that you would ever do that. And the reality is, we're not doing it. We're playing somebody who's doing it, and you're never going to have anything good to watch or anything interesting to watch unless you have the clear and distinct. Or a clear distinction between, good and evil and right and wrong, and so sometimes it's really fun to play the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, I agree. Okay, so we kind of touched on it a little bit when we were talking about the first performance from last night. But somebody was curious about your actual opinions about Idaho, whether it's Rexburg, Pocatello, Boise,
Rigby.
Exactly. What are your actual opinions about up here?
I love Idaho.
I
Me
do
too.
Yeah.
Me too.
I'm from Washington State originally, just outside Seattle. So we came over to Idaho a lot when I was a kid, and I just think it's a beautiful state. I've always had a good time here. We love doing shows up here. Just the nicest people. I think
Wonderful people.
it's beautiful country. I'm a huge Idaho fan.
Mm-hmm.
Rock on. So the snow doesn't deter you away or anything.
No, it was so great. It was crazy maneuvering this morning. Slippery.
Yeah, that's kind of on my end a little bit. Okay, so this question is a little bit more pertain more towards Kirby.
Okay.
So when I was asking, a lot of the people on the social media were talking about the RM, the movie that you started a few years back, and they all kept asking me the same question, and I just might as well throw it in here. There was a scene in there about you looking through some binoculars or a telescope or something like that, and looking at somebody who was reaching into a pocket and getting some gum, or something like that. I don't remember. I don't know if you remember that scene at all. I can't.
That's from Best 2 Years.
Best 2 years? Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. Best 2 years.
Best 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a guy getting gum. Yes.
Yes. So a lot of people were asking about how many times did it take for you to shoot that scene, so then you can get that attitude that you had when it was shown in the movie.
When we shot that, we were run and gun, so I had to get it just in 5 minutes because we were in Holland and we had to shoot. We're in the Queen's Garden, and we only had a limited amount of time that we could be in there, and so it was just, all right, go, and get it. Yeah, so it was quick. I wish it took all day. That'd be a better story. But that's one thing that's great. I've been doing improv for so long that improv, I think, makes us all a better actor because you have to be in the moment, and so you try to put yourself in those moments even when you're on film, and you're doing it 1,000 times. So I just improvised and went with
Absolutely. Okay, sweet. Thank you. Okay, so this is a question that I was kind of thinking about. It kind of breezed in during the first show that you guys did rehearsals and stuff like that. So how much do you actually rehearse before you do your improv shows, so then you can be able to have kind of a basis for those?
This time we rehearsed for 30 minutes maybe.
right before, just so we could remember, because we haven't seen Corbin in
I
a year
haven't
and a
played
half.
in a year and a half with these guys, and so when we say rehearsal, the term rehearsal means you're rehearsing what you're gonna do.
Mhm.
We can't do that with improv, so there is no rehearsal of what we're gonna do. What we will kind of play games. So whatever the games and the sketches are gonna be, we'll remind ourselves how does this game actually go? What's
And
the
then
order
we'll
of the
sing,
game?
we'll have Adam play,
Right.
and then while we're doing a sound check, we'll sing a song about raising the monitor level.
Yeah.
I need to hear more Adam. But then we practice that. Like when you're improvising a musical and all of you are singing, you all can't be saying things. One person has to be singing like a sustained note, and the other person can be singing some words, and the other one is harmonizing with the other. So like you just find that warmth, and so we rehearse that. There was a time when we first started the group that we would rehearse every single week and practice and just get to know each other and get comfortable with each other. But we should rehearse a lot more, but everybody's busy. So
Everybody's busy with their own
the
lives
show,
and wives and
the
husbands
show,
and all
we
that.
have a
The show's
show
the
every
rehearsal.
month in LA, and that's the rehearsal. Yeah.
Pretty
Oh,
much
okay,
is,
cool.
it's hard to get everyone in one room when you have such busy people and everybody's working as a performer and
Mm-hmm.
managing families and other pieces of their lives. So it really is hard to get everyone in the same room.
But
at
we
this
had the
point.
thing is though we have rehearsed
A lot.
hours and hours and days
Over
and days
a
over
long
the
time.
14 years we've been together.
Mhm.
Mhm.
One of the core things that we do is prepare. There's a lot of things that we do throughout the rest of the years and the times that we're not together.
Mm-hmm.
I listen to a lot of different musicals, different types of music and sound and
Right.
acting things so that I can be prepared. Okay, they may go in this direction. I have to be prepared to play this type of music and then or discover new things, listen to new musicals, The Greatest Showman, different things where it's like, oh, well, I didn't necessarily think of that type of music
Yeah,
in
that's
this scenario, and being able to draw from those things to have things brought back to our remembrance in the moment is really important to be prepared so that when we're up on stage we will not fear.
That's a great point. Yeah, so much of it is the homework in addition to the rehearsal.
Mm-hmm.
I listened to a lot of musicals this week, just knowing like, okay, gotta brush that part of my brain up a little bit. And you know, in the second musical, there was a point where Kirby and Corbin did a sort of Hamilton-esque rap. The style was certainly influenced by that show, and that wouldn't happen if we weren't trying to keep up with
Right.
the different genres and styles out there. So there's a lot of preparation in addition to the rehearsing as well.
Awesome. And so just kind of going off of that a little bit, who in the group is the hardest to get in, like to be able to get around with each other? Is it Lincoln? Because I know he's not here today, but who is the hardest to be able to get with to be in the group?
Well, Corbin doesn't live in
I don't live in
California.
California, so I live in Portland, Oregon currently. So I haven't been able to play with these. So I do about, I mean, anytime the society traveling kind of group goes, I will be part of that group. And but that's not all the time. We don't we all are busy with other things going on, and so these guys get to play a lot back in LA. And really, I need to kind of try to get on a troop somewhere where I live. But I'm probably the hardest one. Yeah, I haven't seen these guys in a year and a half.
If you do get on a troop, don't let them teach you the wrong things.
I won't. Well, what I
Let
do
them-
is I'd probably
you bring
do it
them up.
Well, I do it FaceTime with you guys. I'm just
Yeah.
thinking,
Yeah,
is I'll be in the scene, but
because it's
via
taken a
satellite.
lot of investment to get you where you are.
I still have a long way to go.
Oh man. That's pretty much all that I had personally. Is there anything that you guys want to mention to the Idaho school? Basically, anything you want to point out to them? Any advice you want to give to them?
I personally want to just say thank you for having us again, and hopefully we can do this again very soon. It truly is. We're not lying when we say this is like our favorite place to come, because without a doubt, the audience is just absolutely invested in the show. They stay after, and which means a ton to us. They wait in a long line to shake our hands and give us a hug and take a picture with us, and it means more than we could say. I mean, as actors, our validation is the way our work is received by other people. Without the people that come to watch and support, we're nothing. We pride ourselves in entertaining other people, and it means it's not lost on us that the people could be other places, and yet they chose to spend time with us last night. So I just want to say thanks again for coming out and for being such an unbelievably gracious and wonderful audience.
Amen.
Absolutely. Adam, do you have anything to add to that?
It's absolutely one of the best things because I graduated from here, and having the opportunity to share some of the things that I've learned and be able to use that as an opportunity. There's been times that somebody's come up and said, we're dealing with cancer right now in our family, and being here is the first time that we've been able to laugh for a year. That's why I do what I do.
Man. Well, we really do appreciate you guys coming up to be able to do this with us. We want to thank you right back for being able to bring us this joy and this wonderful interview that we were able to have. Do you have anything else to add, man?
Thank you, Greg. Thank you,
Yeah,
Miles.
thank you guys.
So much.
You guys are awesome.
I'm good. You need help?
Nah, I got it.